You've probably held something today that could end a life in under a second. A car key. A kitchen knife. You didn't think twice about it, because that's normal now. Speed and force are just part of the background noise of being alive in this century. Now picture a world with none of that. No engines. No sudden violence from 30 feet away. For most of human history, killing something took muscle, timing, and getting close enough to touch it. Then, in a Chinese temple, a group of monks searching for eternal life accidentally built the opposite. They were trying to cheat death. What they found ended up taking more of it than almost anything else humans have ever made. Go back to the 9th century, during China's Tang dynasty. Taoist alchemists spent their careers mixing minerals, trying to create an elixir that would let the emperor live forever. One text from that era, the Zhenyuan Miaodao Yaolu, describes alchemists heating sulfur, saltpeter, and honeycomb together. The mixture didn't grant immortality. It caught fire, burned the workshop, and singed the hands and faces of the men standing around it. That accident is the earliest known written brush with gunpowder. For close to a century, nobody weaponized it. It stayed a curiosity, used in fireworks and signal flares. But here's the part that gets left out of most retellings. Gunpowder didn't arrive as a weapon. It arrived as a mistake, made by people who wanted the opposite of what they got. By the Song dynasty, in the 10th and 11th centuries, that mistake started showing up on battlefields. Military engineers packed the mixture into arrows and lobbed it over city walls. The 1044 military compendium Wujing Zongyao recorded some of the earliest known gunpowder formulas, mixing saltpeter, sulfur, and other ingredients into weapons meant to burn and choke rather than explode outright. During the Jingkong incident in 1126, Jin dynasty forces besieging the Song capital of Kaifeng faced gunpowder bombs thrown from the walls. This wasn't a rumor passed down through legend. It's documented in the official record of that siege. Here's where it gets specific, and specific is what makes this real instead of folklore. Somewhere between the 10th and 12th centuries, Chinese engineers built the huoqiang, the fire lance. Picture a bamboo tube, packed with gunpowder and scrap metal, lashed to a spear. Light the fuse, and it spat flame and shrapnel roughly 10 feet forward. It wasn't accurate, it wasn't safe to hold. But it did something no bow or blade had ever done. It pushed an object toward an enemy using a chemical reaction instead of a human arm. That difference matters more than it sounds like it should. Every bow, every sling, every thrown spear before this depended on the strength of the person using it. The fire lance didn't care how strong you were. It only cared how much powder you packed into the tube. That's the moment strength stopped being the limiting factor in violence. The 1044 Wujing Zongyao, the same military compendium that recorded early gunpowder formulas, describes soldiers keeping a small box of glowing embers strapped to their belts just to light these things in the middle of a fight. There was no trigger, no mechanism, no safety. You held a burning tube of paper and gunpowder next to your own body and hoped the fire went out the front end instead of the back. Song General Han Shizhong is recorded using huoqiang weapons to capture a city in Fujian province in 1132, one of the earliest documented cases of gunpowder deciding the outcome of an actual battle rather than just scaring the men on the wall. The fire lance kept getting refined for 2 more centuries, but the real jump happened when someone swapped the bamboo for metal. Archaeologists found a bronze cannon at Wuwei in China's Gansu province, dated to 1227 and linked to the Western Xia period. It weighed over 240 pounds and could launch an iron ball, and next to it, diggers found an actual iron cannonball along with leftover gunpowder. That's not a text describing a weapon. That's the weapon itself, sitting in the ground for nearly 800 years. 60 years later, the design shrank down to something a single soldier could carry. In 1970, archaeologists excavating a site called Banla Chengzi in Heilongjiang province pulled a bronze tube out of the ground, 34 centimeters long, weighing about 8 pounds. It's now called the Heilongjiang hand cannon, and it's the oldest confirmed surviving firearm on the planet. The dating isn't a guess. It sits alongside battle sites tied to the 1287 and 1288 suppression of a rebellion led by the Mongol prince Nayan against Kublai Khan. The History of Yuan, the official chronicle of that dynasty, records a commander named Li Ting leading troops equipped with hand cannons into that fight, soldiers who carried the weapons strapped to their own backs. The text says the cannons caused so much confusion that some of the enemy soldiers ended up attacking each other. That's the first time in the historical record you can point to a named commander, a named battle, and a surviving object, all lining up. 10 years after that fight, in 1298, a second cannon turned up near Xanadu, the ruins of Kublai Khan's old summer capital. This one carries an inscription with its exact production year and a serial number, which means someone in the Yuan government was already tracking these weapons the way a modern factory tracks a batch of parts. parts. Guns had stopped being a novelty. They were becoming inventory. Here's the part that doesn't make it into most explainer videos. The technology didn't stay in China. Knowledge of gunpowder moved west along the same routes the Mongol armies used to conquer half the known world. By the 1240s, a Syrian chemist named Hassan al-Rama had written down gunpowder formulas in the Middle East. By 1267, the English friar Roger Bacon referenced an explosive mixture in his work Opus Majus, describing something that made a noise like thunder and a flash brighter than lightning. On August 26, 1346, at the Battle of Crécy in northern France, King Edward III's English forces faced a French army several times their size. Edward brought something new to the field, a handful of small cannons, hidden among his archers. The Italian chronicler Giovanni Villani, writing about the battle afterward, described their effect as fearful, throwing balls of fire that frightened the horses and killed men outright. The French lost the battle badly, and while historians still argue over how much credit the cannons deserve next to the English longbow, Crécy is remembered as the moment gunpowder stopped being a foreign rumor and became a European reality. The adoption after that was fast. By 1411, records from the Duchy of Burgundy list more than 4,000 handguns sitting in ducal arsenals, proof this had already moved past experimentation into organized, large-scale production. A castle that had protected a noble family for 300 years could be reduced to rubble in an afternoon. Mounted knights in full plate armor, the most expensive fighting force a kingdom could field, became vulnerable to a foot soldier who'd never trained a day in his life, as long as that soldier knew how to load a barrel and pull a trigger. The entire foundation of medieval warfare, built on birthright, years of training, and inherited wealth, started collapsing under the weight of a chemical reaction discovered by men who'd only wanted to live forever. That's the trade nobody talks about. The search for eternal life produced the single most efficient tool for ending it that humanity had built up to that point. And it didn't stay in the hands of the powerful for long. It spread to whoever could get their hands on it. You don't think about any of this when you hear a car backfire, or watch an action movie, or read a headline about a conflict on the other side of the planet. But every gun on this planet right now traces its shape back to that bamboo tube on a Chinese spear. The touch hole those Song Dynasty engineers used to ignite their powder became the flintlock. The flintlock became the percussion cap. The percussion cap became the cartridge sitting in a modern rifle. 900 years of engineering, and the basic idea never changed. Contain an explosion, aim it, release it. What changed is who gets to hold that power. In the 13th century, a hand cannon took a state, a foundry, and trained soldiers to produce and operate. By 1399, when a castle called Tannenberg fell in what's now Germany, archaeologists later found a handgun among the ruins made of iron instead of bronze, a small shift in material that made the weapon cheaper and easier to manufacture in bulk. That's the pattern that never really stopped. Every generation since has found a way to make the same basic idea smaller, cheaper, and easier for one ordinary person to own. The distance between a Taoist alchemist's workshop and the world we live in now isn't measured in miles. It's measured in how ordinary that kind of force has become. Somewhere in a temple in Tang Dynasty China, a group of men mixed 3 ordinary substances together, hoping to find something that would stop them from dying. They didn't fail exactly. They found something powerful. It just wasn't the kind of power they were looking for. Every gun made since then carries that same accident inside it, a discovery born from the oldest human wish there is, twisted into the opposite of what anyone asked for. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe this channel. Bye.